Would you like to know what the benefits of understanding the concept of God are? Then listen to this entire video where I explain how grasping God helps you be more respectful towards other humans, in which, of course, reciprocally you will receive in return, and how your mindset towards humanity in general can turn from a pessimistic to an optimistic one. So before we get into this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life. Let's get into it. So yesterday I made a video explaining the first benefits of understanding the concept of God, which was really referring to interconnectedness, because God is kind of a thing that is everywhere. It's like a law, a structure of reality that governs everything. And when you understand that one single sort of concept explains or is present everywhere, then you see how all is one. Like everything is kind of one thing and how it is all intertwined then. But I'll put the link in the description for that video if you want to check it out. Now, God... Now, when I talk about God, or I think God does this or this, I'm always referring to the concept. I'm not referring to like some dude sitting on a cloud, okay? Like, I'm talking about the concept. So, because I don't want to have to say every time, the concept of God, that's annoying. So, God is an extremely complex concept. So, because it encompasses so many aspects, which we will get to realize later in this video. So, yesterday's explanation of the benefit of God, of interconnectedness, took me 20 minutes to explain, and I'm not even sure if the video did any justice to the concept, so I hope this video is shorter, but I'm not promising anything. Okay, so the second benefit we're going to dive into today is that when you grasp God, you see the potential within human nature and people, the immense potential. You respect them more as a consequence. Now, the benefit is that you obviously conduct yourself more respectfully towards others, which benefits them. And then because, life is so interconnected, as we realized yesterday, human relations are reciprocal. So if you behave respectfully towards others, you are likely to get it back in return, which obviously benefits you, right? Now, but another crucial benefit is that your opinion and mindset towards humanity becomes more hopeful and positive, and hence less disdainful and contemptuous towards humanity. You turn from being a misanthrope, I think I pronounced that correctly, to an optimist. Now, I do think that many people nowadays are very distrustful of human nature because we're broadcasted the atrocities of human behavior regularly. Whether it's murderous riots in the US, some genocide occurring across the globe, or some megalomaniac businessman who is corrupt and lobbying politicians who are just as fraudulent. Hence, the media, paints a picture of humankind that isn't pretty. And generally, your own social circle can give you an ugly impression of humankind. Like, you don't just need the media for you to understand the downsides of humankind. Like, you might have friends who gossip behind your back, your partner might cheat on you, or you catch yourself having thoughts about cheating on your partner, and then you mentally torture yourself because you mentally torture yourself for having produced those thoughts in the first place. You know all the reprehensible behavior you've acted out and the dark thoughts that are at home in your head. So it's very easy to despise humans for these kind of things. And when you despise humanity, you need to understand how such an all-encompassing thought merges into all aspects of life. You might start disliking working with your human colleagues, hanging out with your friends, watching people act on TV, talking to your spouse. All these things entail, interactions with other humans, and you might start to dislike it and try to avoid it. And, all domains of your life turn a shade darker when you despise humankind. So, when you grasp what God is and how God is a kind of a reflection of human being, with a capital B, human being, then you know there is a divine potential that is inherently encapsulated within every single human. Of course, God is like an almighty concept with a great benevolent potential. Then when you put two and two together, you know that God and humans are sort of, something about them is the same, like connected. Not the same, but they are connected. Then when you realize that, you adopt a deep respect for humans. But you know, now what happens is you see humanity with a lens of hope. You have more hope. You think, well, humans have this immense capacity of benevolence, but maybe a lot of them aren't showing it at the moment. Then let me try to bring out the best in them and try to nurture that potential. And this attitude really brightens your life, I think, because you shift from an attitude of a misanthrope who wants to avoid humans because they are detestable beings to an optimist who sees the world as a place inhabited by these diverse, wonderful creatures. Now, if we depart from the concept of God and just look about, well, if you're more optimistic in life, because I said earlier on, if you dislike humanity, it's kind of a big thing because humans are essentially everywhere in your life. They constitute the most like fundamental parts of your life. So it's going to affect you. So if you switch it around and you're an optimist, the outcomes of that, the consequences are significant. I've watched a fair amount of, motivational videos since I was probably the age of 15 or 16, I would say. And one of the key takeaways was always be an optimist, And I've watched many, or like a few videos, I would say, on advice by old people. People who are like very old. There's one good like famous video on I forgot the word, the centurions. Is that what you call them? People who live beyond the age of 100. They're over 100 years old. They give advice, and they don't necessarily say it, but they're basically giving advice on how to live for so long, how to achieve that longevity. And one thing they don't say, but you can observe it, this tendency between these people is that they are all optimistic. They all have a positive attitude. So so if this enormous concept of how you perceive humanity, if you're optimistic about it and it governs your life because it's such a big concept, then the effect it will have on your well-being and your longevity is immense. It's very strong. So that's just another benefit. Now, so let me dive a little bit more into the consequence of respecting humans more. And this is where we can start to see how the concept of God is intertwined with everything and is present everywhere. So the question arises, well, if every human has this divine potential with them, but so many people aren't aware of it or are not utilizing it, what variable determines if people activate the potential or not? The answer is not obvious, but I would definitely say it depends on your environment, or the environment you're raised in. If you're educated on the logical concept of God, if somebody educates you on the concept, and somebody explains to you intuitively why following the concept of God will enable you to access will enable you to access more resources that are necessary for your well-being, be able to find an attractive, loving partner, which is, quite important for a young person and occupies their mind a lot, and how to find meaning in life with all these intuitive explanations, then I think obviously you're more likely to activate your potential and be a person of high utility in a society by reducing suffering for yourself and others and help people find meaning, and your attitude towards humanity is more optimistic. However, if you're raised in a family where you receive little attention, you don't get much encouragement and love, then you're more likely to develop the mindset that humanity is not very generous. Humans are cold creatures. Then you won't think that humans have this great potential because they're reprehensible. Now, this is quite a basic example, but even in a house where everything is relatively healthy, I would say, and normal to like a modern Western degree, then by no means will you necessarily understand the concept of God or find it by accident and see the potential within humans. That's by no means guaranteed. So that's very important to know. And that's why when you're optimistic about it, you bring it out in the other people. You don't spread the word of God or anything, but you psychologically incline other people to unconsciously follow the concept, I'd say. And now I'm going to draw it into all these other aspects to understand why God is so intertwined and fully fledged. Taking it back to yesterday's video and talking about how intertwined and interconnected reality is, you notice that, well, okay, if you think humans have this great potential, but so many people aren't activating it, because I'm so intertwined with them, it lies in my hands to, nurture the potential within them and try and get them to manifest it. And that is interconnected with responsibility. And responsibility is very key in the concept of Christianity, because the apex of the religion, Jesus, essentially, I would say one of the flagship concepts of Jesus is that he took responsibility for the humanity. The responsibility of humanity suffering upon himself. And that's the same thing now. You're taking the responsibility of other people's well-being, suffering, and meaning in life onto yourself and trying to nurture it and bring out the well-being and the meaning within them. Now you see how it's interconnected again. Because you affect them very deeply, because humans are very sensitive, and you're constantly influencing the entire world with every step you do, which I've also made a video on, which I'll put in the description also for you to check out. It's how Jordan Peterson, why he thinks responsibility is key, and how that is logically correct, how the concept is correct. And another thing is, okay, this is going to be a long video. So there's another thing of how, God is also all loving and all forgiving. And why that is the case, I think, is because, that would sort of incline humans, if they understood the concept of God, it would incline humans to also try and be forgiving and loving. Why? The way you solve problems and conflicts and issues in life is by being patient, forgiving, and relatively tolerant of other people's BS. Because if you have a conflict with somebody and they throw an insult at you, the goal of the conflict is the goal is to solve the conflict, right? If somebody throws an insult at you, you have the proclivity then, you want to throw it back at them and insult them back. But logically, and I think this is very simple to understand, that's not how you solve a conflict. You do not bash people back after they have bashed you. That's not what you do. That's not how you effectively solve a conflict. How you do solve it is remaining calm, trying to understand them, forgiving them, because, if people throw an insult at you, it's probably because they are hurt themselves. People don't do it out from themselves automatically. It's because they are hurt themselves. So this lovingness and forgiveness is effective in solving problems, and it is psychologically correct, because if you show humility and forgiveness and love to people who have hurt you or tried to inflict pain upon you through insulting you, something psychologically happens within them which snaps, and they suddenly you influence them in a profound way that throwing an insult back at them would never have been able to achieve. That dynamic of somebody throws an insult at you and then you respond with equanimity and forgiveness, that person psychologically flips. They think, I don't know how it exactly works or what occurs, but it is psychologically correct to be calm and forgiving, because the other person then who insulted you thinks throwing that insult was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. Let me make sure I don't do it again. This person has just shown acceptance and kindness to me, when actually, it should have been me who did it, because I just threw that insult at them. let me go and try and make it better. Let me try and fix the situation and show and apologize. That is colossally effective. That is insane. But nobody ever tells you these things. I mean, most people don't. But that's just an explanation of how this forgiveness, which is a very prevalent concept with God, responsibility, they're all intertwined. Okay, so in conclusion, I would say the second key benefit of understanding the concept of God is that you grasp the immense potential within humans, which first of all shifts your pessimistic mindset about the reprehensible nature of humanity to an optimistic mindset, attitude, which tries to bring out the best and the highest potential, this divine, like not divine, but like in the direction of divine potential within humans. And you also build this respect and conduct yourself respectfully against other people, around other people, because you know how much you influence them and how this potential, the opportunity cost of not manifesting this potential is immense. So it is so crucial and vital that it is manifested. Hence you respect them and really try to protect that potential within other people and nurture it, bring it out of them, let it manifest itself. So please leave a comment below whether you understand or whether you can grasp how understanding the concept of God, this potential within humans, makes you respect them more, whether that makes logical sense or not, or whether you have any other, if you're aware of any other ideas on how this concept of God can bring out benefits within yourself. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life. Thank you for listening.